Hi guys, it's Shah from Thoroughly Enjoyed Books here, and I am very excited that today is the launch of my poetry collection. The first few minutes of this are just going to be really awkward because I'm tight and didn't want to pay like £40 or whatever it was for the premium membership of StreamYard to be able to stream on Facebook as well. I am setting up the Facebook Live for the people on there who want to watch. So it might be a bit awkward for the first few minutes, but please bear with me. I'm really excited to share my poetry with you. There is my friends asking me how it's done. So yeah, let's get this started. So I think, yeah, you're on Facebook now as well. Hi guys, welcome to my launch. This is going to be really awkward because currently I am on two screens. I'm on Facebook here, hello, and YouTube over here. So it's going to be very backwards and forwards, I think, but hopefully we will manage it because, as I've just explained to the YouTube people, I don't want to pay £40 to be able to do it like both at the same time. So two devices seemed like the best option. So you're here today for the launch of my poetry collection, which I'm really excited about. You've all seen the cover. This is Overshare. This is a poetry collection that I have been working on technically for the last 18 months to 2 years. There's poems that I wrote back in like September 2019, and then there's poems that I wrote literally 2 weeks ago. So I've been working on it for a really long time, and it is a charity thing. So I'm really excited to share it with you. I'm also really scared. Basically, I'm just going to explain a little bit about how this came to be, discuss why I've chosen the charity that I've chosen to donate to. And then I will read some of the poems. So there's only, I think, one person who has read all of the poems, and the feedback was lovely. So I'm a little less nervous now because I know that they're not complete and utter shite. But basically, I've always been a writer. I'm doing a master's in English Lit and Creative Writing at university at the minute. And writing is something that I do to preserve my mental health, which I know over the last year has been like really important for people. So I started writing this poetry collection in January. So the poem that actually started it all and made me think I was going to put it all into a book, you've all already seen if you're coming from Facebook, if you're coming from YouTube or wherever. I think most of you have seen this. I've posted it on most social media accounts and on my writing page. And it is called The Sea Between, which is basically, we've come through full circle from it. Because basically it was an idea that came into my head when I was standing on the beach when I went home in January. Or it might have been February that I was actually at the beach, one of the two. And I wrote this poem about being unable to decide whether to move home or not. And everybody knows pretty much now that I am moving home. I am moving back to Whitehaven at the end of May, which is terrifying. I can see I've got a few people on both, so I'm just going to continue now as if everybody's watching. It will be recorded, and people who haven't been able to make it now can watch it back later. So the reason I have made it a charity thing is obviously because the poetry collection does circle around mental health. There's quite a big section where I discuss my mental health. Most people know that I live with bipolar disorder. So yeah, it's been one of those things that's always been really close to me, and poetry helps me come to terms with that and work through emotions. But the reason I've picked Calm, which is a men's mental health charity, is because I've just noticed over the last year so many people, particularly the men in my life, my friends, my family members, just don't know how to cope with their mental health. And it's not something that I wasn't aware of. I know, men's mental health is this huge thing. It's not talked about enough. Men feel like they're not allowed to feel down. They're not allowed to, be upset. And I just thought it was really important that I, make some awareness for them. So I've done fundraising for all sorts of mental health charities. Now it's time to focus on the men. So we've been here about 5 minutes. I thought I would talk more about that, but obviously not. I think I will just talk a little bit about the poems. So I picked out 5 that I was going to read for you. I won't read The Sea Between unless people want it, just because a lot of people have read it. But basically the collection is split into 4 sections. And I've got the artwork here for you. Each section is a different type of poem. So the first, this will be the chapter page. If you can see that on there. This will be at the start of the chapter on mental health. This will be at the start of the heartbreak section. This will be at the start of trauma and world issues and things like that. And this is kind of a miscellaneous piece that looks at the world, as it were. So I'm going to start off with the poem in the mental health section, which obviously is all about men's mental health. It's the reason we have this book, and it just makes sense for me to read this one. So this poem is called Man Up, and this is the bit where I get nervous because there's people watching me read poetry. But I've done live poetry readings before, so it's fine. Okay. So, man up, drink up, break up, cheer up. The obsession with up instead of letting him break down. With that kind of attitude, it's no surprise male suicide is on the rise. Who can he talk to? Not you. Who doesn't care what he's going through. I heard you say he's being pathetic, overdramatic. It'll be cured by getting paralytic. No wonder he feels like a disappointment, reluctant to make that doctor's appointment, embarrassed by emotions he wasn't supposed to express, those feelings repressed that pushed him into being depressed. It's okay for a man to feel, okay not to be okay, so stop letting masculinity get in the way of help for something real. Change the meanings. Man up means asking for help. Drink up means staying hydrated. Break up with your overrated masculinity that expects you to just cheer up. I hope you're okay. I promise you'll feel better one day. So obviously that's my men's mental health poem, just kind of flipping things on the head of what is expected, the things that people normally tell men to do when they express that they're feeling a bit down. Let's just go to the pub, get some beers in us, we'll feel better, when actually it's okay to feel a bit crap. The next section is obviously the heartbreak section, but I'm not going to read that poem yet. I'm going to leave it to last because it's one of my favourite poems in the collection. And I feel like if I read that first, everything else is just going to be a bit of a disappointment. So I'm actually going to go on to the next poem that I wrote, the first poem that I wrote, back in, it was a long time ago anyway. If I tell you when I wrote it, then you'll know who it's about. But this is called Self-Inflicted. Like I said, it's the first poem that I ever wrote and didn't think was complete and utter garbage. My poetry style has changed a lot since I wrote this poem, but it's also one that I think it was really important for me to share. I'm just checking Facebook because I don't actually think many people have joined from the Facebook, and that might be because I completely messed up how it works on Facebook. So I can see Lily is there. I might just have to leave it and then upload the video to Facebook. I don't know. Just bear with me 1 second. Yeah, that's fine. We'll leave it there. Right, back to us. So, Self-Inflicted, as I said, the very first poem that I ever wrote for this collection and got in by the skin of its teeth. Oh, thank you, Shannon. Shannon just said Man Up is one of the favourites in the collection. Shannon basically read the whole collection because I was scared to share it in case it was garbage. Okay, so this one's Self-Inflicted. I sacrificed who I was for you, helped tear another's heart in two, and for what? It all came to squat. I did things I said I'd never do, hoping we could see it through. but we couldn't, or you wouldn't. I hoped I'd watch our love grow. One day I would come to know we did it right, that we'd burn bright. But now I'm picking up the pieces of a broken heart when I should have seen it coming from the start. I'm bleeding and I'm needing, but this is self-inflicted, and I think I deserved it. So yeah, that's a bit of a self-deprecating poem, but honestly think, some of the rhymes are contrived, but it was fun to write, and at the time that I wrote it, I really, really needed to write it and just get a bunch of thoughts off my head. So the next poem is one that I wrote at the beginning of March. This is in the trauma section. So this is basically just about experiences that I think a lot of people go through that they can't really articulate. And there's a couple in this collection about what it's like to be a woman. The reason that I wrote this one in March was obviously to do with what was going on with Sarah Everard. So it's quite a difficult poem, and I've got a couple on a similar theme in this collection, but overall, this one I think gets the message across in a less difficult way. I don't know what word I'm going for, but this one is quite important. So it's called We Are Broken. We are broken, but not in the way you think. The world ignores our words, spoken in the language of the oppressed, a token of the work undone. We beg for help, ask for an ear to listen just once. We are broken, but held together by golden friendships, mended and commended for the lives we live in fear. And one day we hear on the grapevines of community that he's escaped with impunity, and know that our words meant nothing. Our stories, our experiences, our trauma are disregarded and discarded, torn from the pages of existence and burned on the fires that the media brought, the pain and the sorrow that men have wrought on us. We are broken, but not in the way you think. We won't fall apart. We'll use our shattered pieces for our art. So at that point, I thought the collection was pretty much finished. I thought this was the only section that I didn't have enough poems for. And when I wrote that one and put it in, I was set on it being completed. But there is another poem that I wrote that made it right into the end. It's the last poem in the collection. It's the last poem for a reason. I don't know if Shannon is still here, but if she's here, she knows which poem I'm talking about. And I'm going to let her decide whether or not I read it, or if I leave that one for people to read in the collection, because I think it's one of the best. But I am going to go back now to Disposable, which is another one of my favourites. I think technically this one is my best poem, because the metaphors that go through it, I'm really proud of. The story it tells, again, I'm really proud of. And I think it has little bits of everything in the collection. So like every single section is in this one poem. And also it's really fun to say. It's like really fun to read. So sometimes I think like I'm singing it almost, even though I can't sing. So this is called Disposable. Women are not disposable. Not something you can throw away when they're no longer usable. Not here to try before you buy, so when you leave, they're asking why. A relationship is not just about you. You need to think what you put people through. If you can't commit, then why insist they must resist the urge to tell you they love you? But you act as though we existed only in your head, not like you burrowed deep into my heart instead. Now I'm the one who's left broken. With all these words unspoken, my heart just a token of us. Of us you never saw as anything more than a trial you forgot to cancel, so subscribed for a while before realising it didn't fit in your budget and decided that I needed to budget out of your life. But you want to be friends. That's not how this ends. If my wishes weren't granted, then why do you think you can take for granted my presence? It presents your selfish greed that ignores my needs, to hold you and love you, to wrap you up and protect you. If you don't want me in my way, you don't need me in your way. If you keep your thoughts inside your head, they'll convince you you're better off dead, and I tried to help you get ahead of that fear. You blamed me instead. You called the shots. But I will not be around to watch you catch fire and lose your desire. I won't watch as you use another who won't fix you, who'll one day miss you too. This torture is not the fault of anything other than you and what you put yourself through. The answer is somewhere within you. So whilst I'll take the blame, I won't carry a flame in your name forever. If I do, you will never learn to undo what's scaring you. I'm worthy of more than the consolation prize, not here for your reprise and your cries, and as much as you try to disguise your feelings with your lies, it'll never suffice until you confront it, unravel it and face it. Only then will you find happiness. Maybe then you'll be consolable. Maybe that won't be disposable. So those are all the poems that I wanted to share with you. Shannon is in the chat but didn't answer my question about whether I finish on the last poem or not. So I've got one more poem that I might be reading, and then I will explain how you can purchase this if you want to, and also I forgot what I was going to say, and also take any questions. So if you've got questions to ask, pop them in the chat. Oh, thank you, Hannah. Hannah is like, she's a poetry queen, so whenever she compliments my poems, I get all gushy. Like, it makes me much. Okay, Shannon has said do the last poem. Okay, so this poem is the very last poem that I wrote when I thought the collection was finished. It is one of the reasons that the collection is delayed. Don't blame me. Because just as I was about to send it to the printers, I thought about this poem, and I thought about maybe including it in another collection, which I have started because apparently I just can't stop. Yeah, so this is called Consent. And I think people will understand why I've got this poem in the collection. I don't think it's hard to put together. So, once upon a time, we asked for each other's consent, understanding the importance of communication. I wonder where that went. Now now your permission's in remission. I approached you, you encroached on my creativity. This ink stains my art. I can't keep it and you apart, and I wanted your consent before I presented it to the world. Your presumptions caused interruptions to my limitations. It was a courtesy to avoid heresy left to hearsay. I didn't give my consent. Now you can't resent the publication, public humiliation. When there's realization, I tried to tell you what I was going to do. Yes, this poem is about you. So that was the last poem I wanted to share. I messed it up because I'm embarrassed now. I don't like getting nice comments. I don't know what to do with them. So I think that was like 5 or 6 poems from the collection. There are 20. It's going to be available in about 10 minutes from 7:30. So I am going, Charlie just saying mic drop. Yes, Charlie. That's exactly what that was. It's going to be available from 7:30. Basically, because it's a charity project, I and ahhed about where to sell it. Basically, if I sell it on Etsy or Ko-fi or basically any of those reselling sites or just selling sites, I guess, the company I list it with takes a massive percentage. It takes between 10 and 20% of the money raised, which would be 30 to 60 pence. So I've decided I am just going to sell it independently. So I will leave, most people buying their friends anyway, so that won't be an issue. But basically, I will leave my PayPal, or just leave me a comment that you want a copy of it. I will send you a message with my PayPal on. If you want an ebook copy, they are £3. So just send £3 to that PayPal account with your email address as the comment or the note that you can attach to it. That means that I can then send you a PDF copy of the book. If you want a physical copy, those are being delivered to me on Friday the 7th of May. So those are going to be available really, really soon. Hopefully in the morning, because I have plans on Friday. And then I can get them sent out to you. Those are £6, and that includes UK shipping. If you're in Leicester or Whitehaven or surrounding areas, I can get a copy to you for free, or I can put it in the post, whatever works better for you. Or you can actually have a bundle, which is a ebook copy and the physical copy for £7.50. I will then send you your ebook copy immediately, and your physical copy I will obviously get to you when they arrive. So if you're not nearby, those copies will be available probably the second week of May if I get pre-orders, and then I can post them all out. So now that I have explained all of that and I've finished my poetry readings, does anybody have any questions? I'm aware that like a lot of people have only just joined and I've done all the readings, so it's absolutely fine. Go back and watch the whole thing. Doesn't matter to me. But somebody please ask a question, otherwise it's really embarrassing. And I'm going to read your comments while I'm here, so. You can probably hear the birds I have in the background as well. I'm convinced that there's birds in the loft and they're nesting like in the corner because they're so loud. Oh, everyone's so nice. Thank you for your nice comments. I can't work the Facebook one. I don't know what's happening with it. Okay. So I've got a couple of questions coming through. So what I'm just going to do first, everyone on Facebook, thank you very much for watching. I think I've messed this up because there's like 2 people watching, and I know there's more people trying to watch it. So I will put this onto the actual event page so other people can watch it. I'll also put a link to the YouTube page as well, so if you want to come and ask me some questions, go ahead, but I'm just going to finish this broadcast and focus on the YouTube one now. So thank you for joining, and I will speak to all of you soon. Bye. Okay, that was a bit awkward. Oh gosh. Yeah, you're on Facebook now as well. Hi guys, welcome. Oh, okay. Oh, I was reading Shannon's comment. I'm really proud of this metaphor, and I'm not sure if it worked or not, but I'm glad that it was picked up to be nice at least. That was meant to be, do you know that Chinese technique of like mending broken pottery where they mend it with gold and it's like prettier and stronger? That's what I was getting at there. So I know those comments, I just want to get through everybody. I'm not very professional today. Oh, thank you, Sylvie. Thanks, Hannah. Michaela asks if I will sign her copy. Yes, Michaela, of course I will sign your copy. Okay, thanks, Laura. What is your favourite part of writing poetry? I feel like I have to answer this question in terms of like, what is my poetry process, maybe. So basically, I've learned I can't write a poem if I am too distant from the emotion that I am feeling at the time. So if I'm writing a really heartfelt poem, I have to write it at the time that is the most heartfelt, if that makes sense. So my favourite poems in this collection, I wrote at 3 o'clock in the morning when I was crying my eyes out and couldn't sleep. So I don't know what that tells you about it. So a lot of the time I don't actually enjoy writing the poetry, but usually I get like a line in my head and then it carries on from there. So yeah, I guess my favourite part though is when I finish the poem and I read it back and I'm like, that is exactly how I feel. I've got that all out on paper and it's out of me. It's an emotion that has been dealt with, no matter how complicated it might have been. And those feelings, might change in the morning. If I wrote it at 3 o'clock in the morning, by the time I've woken up the next day, I might not be feeling that way anymore. But that's how I felt at the time. And being able to record that, that means a lot to me. Yeah. So, and then I fine tune it. And then I'll be honest, I'm not very good at editing. I kind of just go with, I've finished it now, it's done. So fine tuning isn't necessarily a thing I do, but yeah, I like to just have it, it pings into my head and I write it and I'm done. Thank you, B. How does it feel to have your words out there? Scary. People already think I'm crazy. Now they're going to think I'm even crazier because I'm writing poems about people. Yes, thank you. I reprocess but forget the words. That's fine. I forget words all the time and I'm supposedly an expert of them. Okay, how did you get into writing poetry? This question's quite interesting to me because I would have said, sorry, my chargers fell out and my laptop's about to die. I would have said I only started writing poems about 2 years ago, but I very recently found a book of poetry that I wrote in 6th form, which again was breakup poetry. So I've been writing it for a lot longer than I thought, but then I thought, oh, maybe I just did it for a little bit when I was a teenager and that was it. That was fine. But not the case. I then found a notebook from about 4 years ago that had poems in. I found some notes on my phone that had more poems in. So I think I just always kind of wrote poetry as a way to talk about feelings that maybe I wasn't able to express. But in the last 18 months, that is when it's literally become a crutch to me. I can't feel something and not write a poem about it. I have to write a poem about it. Another good question. I read this as pants at first. I don't know why. I read it as which pants inspired you. So I would say that the most recent poets, actually, no, their books are too far away. The most recent poets that inspired the book was Charlie Cox, and I've read both her poetry collections. She's got one called She Must Be Mad. She's got one called Validate Me, and I've read both of those really recently and really, really enjoy them. It was actually She Must Be Mad that made me think I want to write a poetry collection because people actually do care about poems about feelings, because that's something I always worried about, was that the poems that I wrote nobody would care about because they're not fancy metaphors, they're literally just feelings. So when I read hers, I was like, I want to do this. But my friend Shanice, who I met at university, she also inspired me a lot, and she's the one who made me actually start writing things down and go to a couple of open mic events in Leicester, which were really fun just before the first lockdown, and that really helped with being able to do stuff. So those are my favorite ones. But there's also a poet called Sophia Thacker who writes similar type of poetry to what I write, who I really enjoy. And look at all these people who want me to sign their copies. Of course I will sign your copies. Of course I will. Silly question. I actually have memorized one of these poems off the top of my head. And I'm tempted to say it, but I don't know. Let me see. Let me get it. I want to read it. I want to actually look from something. Do you recognise this book, Ari? Because it was this poetry, it was this book. And it's not a poetry collection. It's God, I'm so embarrassed. They were song lyrics, They're poems. And I wrote this one on the 6th of September 2012. Okay. I'm not reading that one. Hang on. Let me find the one that right. Can I just I forgot I did this. At the time, I was obviously really obsessed with Taylor Swift. Nothing's changed. I've actually circled letters in these to like have a hidden message. God, that's embarrassing. Okay, the one I wanted to read was, if I can't find it, then I'll obviously read it out loud. Where is it? And Ari, you'll know most of these have got religious imagery, and I know you know why. But I can't find it. I can't find the one I wanted. Okay. They've all got really stupid names, like That's Why, Temptation, Church, Much Too Young, Perfect in My Eyes. I'm trying, there is one. Oh, My Best Friend's Boy. Sorry. I can't find the what. Okay. I've actually named somebody in this. There's a name of a boy in here, and I don't know who he is. Sorry, I'm just looking mad now. The one I was looking for goes, you could break any heart with the sweet words you said. Did you just forget the start? You dragged me into our bed. You whispered to me all the love that you had, but it all went away at the end of the day. That one sticks in my... Oh, here we go. I found it. It was actually the poem one. This was called Daydreams, and I wrote this on the 9th of September 2012. Fairy castle. Oh, Ari! It's magic. It's what you were asking me for. Fairy castles, magic wands, when we would watch the swans. Happy days, dancing round, never thought we'd hit the ground. I still miss you every day. Play back the day you walked away when you said you were going to stay. You called me your princess, so I wore my best dress and I felt your sweet caress. But now you're gone, I'll try moving on. Glitter Falls unicorn ride when you were by my side. Shooting stars, knight at arms, I fell for all your charms. Wow. Oh, there's a bridge as well. These daydreams hold me close to you. These daydreams will never do. These daydreams I hold on to. These daydreams will pull me through. Wow. And oh God, yeah, I'm not reading any more of them, but those are some from 2012. So that's how I got into poetry a long time ago. Thanks, Leanne. Yeah, Ari, thanks. Okay. I'm aware that that last bit was a bit rambly, but I just got really embarrassed. Like some of these poems, I was dating a preacher's, a minister's son at the time, so wow. Sorry, right, I'm gonna stop now. But yeah, so that was the collection. If anyone's got any more anyone has any more questions, I'll answer them very quickly. But thank you for coming to my launch. Like I said, I'll be taking orders by basically private message me if you're interested in one. Pre-orders for the physical collection I will take from now, and I will start taking the orders for the ebooks as well, and I can get those shipped out to you immediately. So £3 for the ebook, £6 for the physical, or including postage, or £7.50 for both, also including postage. So thank you for everybody who joined. I know it was a bit chaotic, but I am very excited that it's now out in the world. Thanks, Michaela. And just putting it out there, my favourite poem in the collection, like my absolute favourite one, is called I Never Loved You. The reason I haven't read it today is because it makes me cry every single time I read it. So yeah, I hope that you buy the collection just for that one poem. But other than that, I will finish the stream now. I really enjoyed hanging out with you, and thank you so much for all of your support. All right, bye.